basic idea of Kundalini, it comes also with other names. It's not unique to India. I think it's also important to recognize that the phenomena, and that you'll find references or symbolisms or mythologies around what we call Kundalini in different cultures around the world, quite ancient cultures. So it's not something exclusive to yoga as we know it, with its roots in the Indian continent. But that is the background that I have and that we have in Kundalini Yoga as we teach it. And therefore, the references that I may make will mostly come from there, the language. And it's not so much about the references, but rather the language from the yoga tradition explains pretty well the phenomena and how to work with Kundalini and so on. So that's the language that I will refer to as that. But it should not be considered that it's an exclusively Indian teaching or that it has its roots in India or something like that. Yoga may have, Kundalini not. Okay. What else to say? Okay, so I have had some experiences. I'm going to briefly touch on that, which leads me to be where I am today. Yeah, more than it's just not about the study I've done or the research or the things like that, but actually my experiences is what kicked me in this direction. I had a lot of strange phenomena when I was quite young, which actually comes under the list of some of the phenomena that one may have if you have a Kundalini rising experience. So what I remember is like not being allowed to go to the toilet in the classroom when I was about 12 or 13 years old. And so what do? You hold on tight, and squeeze all the muscles of your lower pelvic region. And to the point that I practically fainted and had some kind of blackout or whiteout kind of experience. And I can recognize, looking back, at a number of occasions where that kind of thing was happening for me. But when I was 17 and a half, I had this experience suddenly of a lot of heat coming in my spine. And I squatted down, closed my eyes at what's happening, and it got hotter and hotter and hotter. When I internally looked inside, it was like flames were coming out of my head. That's what I saw inside me. And I had so much energy, I couldn't stay still anymore. And I went out of the building, and it was evening, early evening. I ran through the streets all night long. There's so much burning energy inside me. And I just heard this voice telling me, like, whatever you do, don't go to the hospital. I now understand what that voice was saving me from. At that time, I didn't know, but I listened to it. And I ended up on the steps of a library in the morning, kind of finally burnt out what was happening. And I went into the library, and this book fell in my hand. Some of you might know it, Tibetan Book of the Dead. One of the first translations that have been done, an amazing commentary. I borrowed it from the library and I read it from beginning to end. And halfway through reading it, I heard the same voice telling me, I'm a reincarnated entity. And suddenly, all of what had happened in my life until that moment finally made sense, because it didn't make sense until that moment. It was a bit much for me to take on board, and there was no one to talk to in the family culture or social environment where I was living. So I kind of had to leave that aside, and it was hard work to actually ignore. You can't really ignore. So I was living like a double life. Got a job, worked, earned money, at the same time trying to find out there's more to life than what we see. Nobody's talking about it. Why not? How do I find out? So I started to privately study a lot of occult material and run into some strange occult groups, which I'm thankfully that I figured out what they were up to and left. Nothing happened for a while until I was in my early 20s, and I was struggling to maintain normalcy, you could say. So I went on a number of strange trips, which I won't go into details, But at the end of one of them, which was basically, I had decided life was not really so interesting, and what's on the other side of life was more interesting. It's not that I was classically suicidal or depressed, but just genuinely interested in what's on the other side. So I decided to fast myself to possibly to the death. I was not concerned if I would survive or not survive, but to go slowly across that path, not just jump off a bridge or something. And at the end of 3 months, I didn't know if I was alive or dead. And I had suddenly my spine was like straight, like a rigid steel of rod of light. And I didn't know. That was the first thing that was happening. And then I'm not talking about all what I crossed in between. That's a whole novel, you know, what went on in those 3 months. But at that moment, first I felt that spine thing happening, and then I didn't know I was in my body or not anymore. Just in a field of complete light. I came out of that, and I went out from where I was staying at that time onto the street. I must have looked like a skeleton. Somebody took me to a restaurant and got me a little bowl of soup, and it was people practicing Kundalini yoga and Sikh Dharma. And I heard a mantra, which many of you may know, Vaheguru, and it was exactly the same sound that I heard when I was in that field of light. So I kind of understood the same, it was not a voice this time around, but the same force that had, you know, taken care of me previously had now led me to this place to be with this community. And so I got a job washing dishes and slowly figured it out. What is all this Kundalini yoga about, and what are these people, and what was my experience about, really? Yeah. And so the Kundalini yoga language gave me an understanding of my experience. Ever since that time, I've basically been, you could say, unemployable in terms of, you know, the normal world. So it was pretty evident that that would be my life path, really, to study the yoga and to share it with others and to serve the, how to say, the gradual realization of that same experience, which is beyond words, really, that I had at that moment. I was 24 years old when that happened. So that's like 42 years ago. And I've slowly gone on this road, study the technology, and share it, and work with a lot of people who've gone through a lot of their own strange experiences and help them to recognize that they're not mad, and it's a natural phenomenon, but it needs to be understood and harnessed and guided, you could say. So that's my personal experience. I'm not going to go into what else I've experienced since then, but that was enough just to say I had very clear, recognizable Kundalini experience and phenomena, and I proceed more from my experience than all the research and study that exists. Okay, I continue to read, continue to enjoy and study, and I encourage you all to do that. But I'm grounded in my own experience. So the basic idea is Kundalini is not the objective of life. It's not the purpose of the life. Yeah. When you die, you're not going to take your Kundalini with you. You could say something like that. Yeah. I don't know if you all know basically some basics about it, so I will go through a few basics just to be sure that we're clear. But Kundalini, it can very much help with the objective of life. Now, of course, each of you may have different ideas what actually is the objective of life. I'm not necessarily going to go into that. If you want to raise that question and make a suggestion how you understand it, so then we can tie that together. Does that make sense? Your understanding of the purpose of life and what does Kundalini have to do with that? Okay? But I'm not going to go down that path unless you take me there. Okay? But the general idea, whatever you may think it is, Kundalini can serve the fulfillment of the purpose of why you are here going through this time and space. Mm-hmm. Okay. So it's generally understood as some dormant energy sitting at the base of your spine. There are other frameworks, but that's the primary, most common framework that is said. And a latent potential, there are different names, different ways to say the same thing, yeah? Now, it's cannot be fully dormant, actually. If it was not partly moving in you, you probably wouldn't be alive. Yeah? So it's already in some way active, but very minimally. In order to live what we might call the human-animal functional life. Mm-hmm. I'm a spirit having a human experience. You may be familiar with that, rather than I'm a human having a spiritual experience. Yeah. Human species, the body is the animal known as the human species. Am I this body? Am I this animal? And I'm sometimes spirit happens, and I'm out there in the spirit. Or I am actually the spirit. I was before, I shall be after, and I'm temporarily inhabiting this form, this animal body. To live it as we're a very sophisticated animal, you know, we can create cities and do all kind of stuff, and yet we can function pretty fully in the everyday society with not more than 30 to 35% of incarnation. Now we think I'm fully here, I'm present, I'm alive, I'm awake, but actually you could even just be between 50 and 30%, and you can actually do all the things required to earn money, pay the bills, have your summer holiday, go shopping, operate your television and your telephone. It doesn't take much. Yeah? You can train a dog to do tricks, you know, then it doesn't take much to train the human species to do a few more tricks, basically. Make sense? You get that? Mm-hmm. So it's already alive in us. We could say, some of you know about chakras, and I'll say a little more about that in a while, that it's moving up to the third chakra, which is what we call up to the animal level. Human level starts at the heart. In Kundalini Yoga, we say that's the longest journey we have to make in the life, from the navel point up to the heart, from the animal to the human. I'm here for the human experience. Okay. This might confuse some people. I'm going to use the term soul and spirit as two different terms referring to two different things. In a way, we can say everything has soul. The stone has soul, the tree has soul, although people may say the spirit of the forest, you know, the spirit of each species of animal. But I'm going to use the term soul just to, for now, make a little distinction. And so the implication is going to be that the Kundalini is the actual soul of your material existence. Or you may say the spirit, the corporeal spirit. That your body has already spirit in it. It has soulfulness in it. Mm-hmm. Okay? And it is rising up to the third level. We indicated that. Yeah. And it allows you to be animated in life and to function. Mm-hmm. Okay. So you have these two qualities actually. You have spirit and you have soul. In order to move into just the human life, never mind the extraordinary human life. We have a term in our teaching, we say the possible human. It's one thing to begin to feel more sense of humanity, let's say, yeah, and ethical, moral developments. It's another thing to move into more of an extraordinary evolution. Yeah, in some way we can say we are like teenagers, you know. So this is meaning that not only the individual Kundalini, but the collective Kundalini has reached the third chakra, and is struggling to get to the fourth chakra. Now we have something which is sometimes referred to this like 3.5, you could say, solar plexus kind of region. Many people will describe kind of barrier here. An emotional barrier, barrier of tension. Sometimes there's like, we hold on to certain fears, insecurities, trauma memories, different things are kind of blocked at this level. So stirring things up and moving and breaking through up to this level can be quite a challenge, can be very dramatic even for some people. But collectively, it's on its way. The collective Kundalini is trying to move us up to the human level. We are human becoming. There's talk of mutation, whether it's through GM, genetic modification, additives in the food, fertilizers, pesticides, 5G waves, radiation in the environment, all kind of forces. These are not the causes. They're stimulating factors. The human species is anyway destined to go through mutation. It doesn't mean a new species is an evolution of this species. And that's in process. And if you meet some very young children, you have a sense that they are like already another species, ahead of us. So this is Kundalini, this latent power that comes with the human existence that is partly moving in us and can be further brought to life. Okay.
On the emotional barrier, and as humans, the creation's trying to bring us up to the fourth chakra. Is this what we're seeing in the world with the strong emotional reaction to so many things? Is it bouncing against that emotional barrier?
Okay. Part of what people are seeking, like sensationalist seeking or emotional outbursts which are happening, is all working to try to open up this space. You can say that. Yeah.
I don't understand the mutation part of human species.
I'm assuming that you know what mutation means. If we say genetically modified food, we're implying mutation. When we start injecting each other with things which mess around with your RNA, which potentially cross the border to mess with your DNA, then we're talking about potentially serious mutations. Species have mutated, and they will continue to. And so, in our journey of awakening, it's going to put us through some pretty challenging transformations. We will still be, the being that I am, even if this body mutates, the spirit that I am remains the spirit that I am. But the vehicle that it inhabits changes. And while alive, even within one lifetime, you can go through some pretty major transformations of your physical body that makes it virtually unrecognizable to the body that you may have had 5, 10, 15, 20 years ago. So I'm simply leaving this idea here that we collectively are in a journey of mutation. I really enjoyed this Chinese proverb, I believe it's Chinese. The right thing happens, but in the wrong way. And think about that. We are going to go where we're meant to go. Because we don't get where we're meant to go, we go sideways and sideways and sideways, and we go off on all kind of tangents. But we will still end up going where we're meant to go. We are a species in evolution. We have always been. We will continue to be. So mutation is inevitable. It's part of the deal. that it's impacted upon and influenced by various forces that I've already mentioned. None of them, I'm not here to say any of it is right or wrong. We can each choose the level of our participation in these things. It's not a judgment. Okay. But you can induce your own mutation. You can have it done to you by other forces. And we'll talk a little bit more about inside out, outside in, and bottom up and top down. These are things that we're going to go a little more into in a moment. Yeah. Unless there's more clarity around that question, I don't have more to say about that. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to just run through the physiology a little bit, okay? So it is generally considered as an entire, how to put it, bioenergetic, psychosomatic kind of phenomenon, yeah? It doesn't happen without the body. It happens because you have a body. And that's why I indicated already, Kundalini is the latent soulfulness of your physical existence. Okay. So it affects everything in you. It affects your nervous system, your endorphin glands, all levels of you are impacted by the Kundalini process. Yeah, it's completely, which also then tells you it's not a physical thing, but it impacts the physical, and you can use the physical to work with your Kundalini energy, which is why there's such a thing as what we call yoga. Okay. Sensory system. So in the diagram that I put before, you saw that I put a little pentacle in the middle. So in this human body, I have a sensory system. I have 5 senses. Some will say extraordinary sense. That's open to debate. We do have senses beyond the 5 senses. It's not just a singular one, but quite a few other senses, in fact. But they're corresponding. They're not like 5 and then other, but they are linked into the 5 senses. So you could say there's a spiritual sense that goes with the sense of smell. There's a spiritual sense that goes with the sense of taste, and so on. Yeah, these are the extraordinary senses. Okay, so located generally considered at the base of spine. What do we have in our yogic anatomy? It's called nadis. You're familiar maybe with meridians, the idea of energy lines, and you've probably seen, there's some maps around you see in yoga studios or online, all these lines running through, energy lines in the body. These are nadis. Consider that there are 72,000 of them. A very important, plexus or center point of that is what we call the navi. It's not your umbilical cord, belly button, but a deeper inner point, 2 to 3 fingers down and inside from where your belly button is. Yeah? And these nadis spread out through the whole body. And so the Kundalini energy is already moving through these nadis already. That's already the case. Yeah. And then there's said to be 3 main channels: Ida, Pingala, and Shashamana. Okay, so you have the right channel, Pingala called, Ida, the left channel, and then the central channel. And the basic idea of practices, of yogic practices for Kundalini, is to bring together these left and right channels, which we call prana and apana. Prana energizing, apana eliminating force. Harness them together into the navi region, and from there go to the base of the spine, enter the central channel, and then rise up through what is then referred to the chakras. Okay. Left and right channels, interesting. Everything you have 2 of is mostly sitting on the left and right side. Yeah. So nostrils, eyes, ears, your kidneys, yeah, arms and legs, left and right side. So one of the ideas of yoga union is meaning to go beyond the effect of polarities, right? Both in you and in the world. So we also have masculine and feminine forces, sun and moon, lunar and solar, so different references to polarity energies. And there's no life without polarity. Yeah, some To be alive is to engage in the world of polarity. But the practice of Kundalini rising, or let's say the consequence of Kundalini rising, is to also transcend that and go beyond being affected. Affected means that although we enjoy, it's linked into sensationalism, okay? We enjoy the experiences of interaction with any other, it doesn't matter, we're talking about two people of any gender or any other kind of role, identity they may have, any two people enters into a kind of polarity exchange. Yeah? And in that polarity exchange, there's experience. Mm-hmm. Even now, you know, as a collective group, and I'm here as teacher, there's a polarity exchange, which is why your interaction is also important to enrich that exchange and bring creativity out of this exchange. Okay? So, on the one hand, we seek that, we enjoy that, but there are many, many ways we suffer it also. Yeah, when you have a lover and then the lover's away, then you miss them and you suffer that. Yeah, I'm hungry, I want the other, I want food. There's always a feeling also of the gap of the polarity. So as much as we indulge it and get pleasure out of it, we also suffer it. So I'm not saying that's the ultimate objective. I'm just sharing part of the teachings is about being able to harmonize the polarities and then go beyond the impact of the polarities in life. Okay. Then we have what is in our environment we call the gunas. So this is also part of the yoga teaching. 3 qualities that energy takes. Static, tamaguna, raja, active, raja guna, and then the sattva guna we call pure state. And we are in an environment which we call the magnetic field, and I also refer to that as the mind field, and it's also referred to as Maya. Okay, so it's the same field, the mind field that we inhabit, the magnetic field, and the Maya field, same field. Different terms, but the same field. And it means that I exist in time and space. Okay, people say there's no such thing as time. This is a lie. It's an insult to the Creator that has created this world that we currently inhabit. There is a dimension of timelessness, for sure. But to say only there's no such thing as time is to deny what we live here day by day. So it's not either or, you know. It's both are true. There is timelessness and there is time. Okay. So here we are in the time and space. Now what happens, I use example, when you put your arm in a bath full of water, it looks like it's bent. And you know it's not bent, but the appearance is there. So when spirit enters in to the field, mind field, magnetic field, Maya field, time and space field, the perception, because spirit equates with consciousness, okay? There's an equation, it's direct equation, spirit, consciousness. So when conscious spirit enters into the field, everything starts to take on a distorted perception. It's like the idea of the veil, yeah? You're seeing everything through some kind of veil, some tinted glasses. You're not seeing things as they actually are. Which also means, I say seeing, but I also mean experience. All your 5 senses, your sensory system, is all a little off center in some way. It's inevitable. It's part of the deal to come into this world, to live through that. So this is a combination now that I'm talking about, the gunas, impact of the gunas, and the impact of our senses, which is linked to the 5 elements, tattvas, they're called earth, water, fire, air, and ether. So this is all part of the anatomy, right? And then, we might say this a little bit differently. When you encounter somebody, there's also different levels to that encounter. So the first encounter is physical, isn't it? Yeah? There's a person of that height, of that broad shoulders, of There's features, color eyes, color hair. It's a physical phenomenon that you encounter. When you approach in order to engage the polarities, you actually move into the level of the sensory system. I feel your presence, I feel your energy. There's experience starts to happen, exchange starts to happen. And that's happening through the five elements, the tattvas and the five senses. This is what we'll then call the emotional anatomy. Okay, so the first appearance, read your pulse, look in your eyes, etc., look at your tongue. It's a physical anatomy I'm examining. Mm-hmm. I start exchanging with you, I get a feeling of, oh, you're in a bit of a mood today. What's going on? Yeah? Or I'm feeling strange in your presence. That's my experience. In your presence, what's happening for me? What's happening for you? This is emotional anatomy. And it works on the level of the elements and the five senses. Next level, say, why? Why are you upset? What's going on? You're then going to tell me a story. The moment you tell me a story, we've now moved into the mental anatomy. And that's linked to your chakras, what we call the chakras. 7 levels of vortex energies or plexus that your Kundalini is going to rise through. So it's not a normally visible anatomy. And it's not either a anatomy that's so sensually experienced. I'm going to make also another progress here. We're talking about sexual, sensual, sensitive. Am I missing something? Sexual, sensual, sensitive. There may be more to that. So at the level of the emotional anatomy, it's sensual. At the physical anatomy, it's sexual. Yeah. And then the next level up is the sensitive. Okay. In our everyday life, we don't have that sensitivity. We can develop that sensitivity, and as the Kundalini rises, that's also going to impact on increasing your sensitivity. Okay? So then, you may then, even before you tell me the story, I can predict the story you're going to tell me. Okay? Because I'm tuning into your mental anatomy, your psychological anatomy. Okay? Which means, it doesn't necessarily mean seeing chakras. Some people develop that ability to see chakras, but you can still have sensitivity to them. Okay? At different levels, you can train yourself to perceive on which level of a chakra is a person is communicating from. Mm-hmm. So that's moving from sensual, sensational, sensual, into sensitive. Mm-hmm. Okay. The next level beyond that will be spiritual, which means just conscious, pure consciousness. We'll see if we can say more about that in a moment. So let's stay a little bit with the chakras, because the main definition or description of Kundalini is not so much around the gunas or the tattvas or the senses, but actually about coming through the chakras. Okay? It's aligned to the spine energy that is not the physical spine, but the impact is, it's a bit like saying it inhabits the same quantum space. Okay? It's not the physical, but it lives in the same space. And therefore you have very physical experiences of that. I'm curious, anybody had a sensation that suddenly your spine gets very straight? Something like that? Yeah?
Yes.
It can happen when you maybe feel like, or maybe you have your own example, like, oh, what's going on here? And suddenly you're like, straighten up to be more alert, be more conscious. It's a little bit like that. You just call that, yeah, oh, I might need a little extra energy here. So, yeah, something in you goes like that. You actually literally just pulled your Kundalini a little bit more into your spine. I need to be ready to face what's happening, to deal with what's going on, and your spine will go like this. Yeah. It's actually a mild version of you drawing up your spirit of your body, the corporeal soul, saying, hey, I need you. Come on up. Yeah. And it responds to that. Okay. Chakras. Okay, so this is an interesting thing because there are some texts which actually describe Kundalini as sitting either in the third eye or the crown chakra. It's not so common, but it sometimes. And then the description is as if something is coming into you rather than something is coming up. I'm going to go a little more into that in a moment. But the idea that what my experience is and what we generally describe in our tradition of Kriya Yoga is you work out through the chakras, you're opening up the chakras, basically, rising the energy to the point at which then there's a downward flow. Then there's a filling. Generally, the idea is light energy is coming in and filling the chakras. Okay? And that's spirit consciousness coming in, having opened up all the space for that. So this is a little bit like that. It's said that in a way that the corporeal soul can be more said to be like the moon, and the moon reflects the sun, and you're raising that energy to the point that the sun will actually shine on the moon. So then there's a lighting up of the moon from the spirit. Yeah. So even that can be added to the equation: spirit, consciousness, and light. In the light of consciousness, we say. Yeah. So that's part of that. Mm-hmm. Before we go into the up-down question, a little bit more about just the traditional model. So we say there are 3 knots, 3 granths is the word, 3 stages that the Kundalini has to come through. And you might have heard of Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, Hindu trinity of God is Brahm. So Brahma is not the same as Brahm. Brahm is the God. And in our text of the Japji that's always read in the morning, it's saying that one mother had 3 disciples, Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva. So they are kind of next level down. They are not the supreme form of the divine, but the manifestation of the divine in these 3 deities. Yeah? Brahma implies the creative energy, and so that's linked to your lower chakras, second chakra, creative energy. And then Vishnu, so that is the organizing or distributing energy. And then Shiva, which we give it a double meaning, is the destroyer, but also the deliverer. So when we play with this little word God, G-O-D, G, generate, O, organize, D, destroy or deliver. So there's 3 knots. The Vishnu knot, second knot, is in the heart. So I'm passing up to open up the lotus. Each of the chakras are described like a lotus flower. You know, have you seen in a lotus pond in the nighttime, the flower closes and goes down under the water? Yeah. And so the symbolism is often referred to as that the heart lotus has finally opened up and now it remains open. And the cup is open and it receives the nectar from above. Yeah. So this is part of the work up through the knots, and we have what is called the bandhas, so 3 locks, root lock, mulband, the uddiyana, to draw the diaphragm in and up. Uddiyana means to fly up. So mul means root, so to lock at the root, pulling the lower 3 chakras, pulling. Remember I said in the school classroom, needing to go to the bathroom and having to squeeze all the muscles tight? That's effectively it. It puts a lot of pressure. Pressure makes heat. Heat makes things rise. And so it starts to move up just by pulling his lower chakras. And then, second one here, to fly up, uddiyana, to fly up, to keep the energy moving up. Jalandhar, neck lock, pulling the chin in and back. Jal means water. Andhar means inside. Some people might think that you're doing the neck lock only for the purpose of flying up and out, but actually the meaning is telling you Jal Andhar is to keep the juices inside. you're going to create an alchemy inside of you. Something will rise, something will come in, and there's going to be a mixing, and there's going to be an alchemy. And this is part of the mutational process, of course. To keep the juices inside. In the biological sense, this is described as generating secretions of your pituitary and pineal gland that then cascade down into the body. That's the physiological expression, but there's also subtle levels at which you do feel the light coming in and filling the cup of the heart. Yeah. Okay, going up through the chakras, so the 3 knots, 3 locks, and then is what is called the Dasam Dwar, the 10th gate. So when the crown chakra opens, because why is it called 10th gate? Because your physical body has 9 holes in it, and so one of the descriptions of the practice is to be in command of your 9 holes of your body, to limit the loss of energy, prana, out through these 9 holes, and therefore, again, collecting all the energy, all the juices, and being able to open up the crown chakra. Have you seen in the baby the fontanel point is interesting, called fountain? Yeah, this is open, so the spirit is coming in, and then around 7 years old, it becomes relatively shut, and that is the incarnating spirit is now sufficiently in the field, yeah, and therefore the crown will close. Not only in the field, but meaning that child has now developed their own field. Okay, you're born in the magnetic field of your mother, and you stay close to that environment, the mother's aura, the family aura. But by the time you are 7, you have established your own field. Okay, you'll see that a 5-year-old is not safe to stop at the edge of the road and look left and right and see the traffic. But from 7, 8 years on, that functionality in the time and space starts to be quite significantly improved because they now have their own field, so they're more sensitive and alert to the time and space around them. They can manage the time and space. Of course, there's many levels yet, but there's a significant step. So the fontanel closes at that time. So there have been evidence of showing literally someone who does a lot of practice on that literally starts to create almost like a rising bump at the crown, and it softens at the top. And cases of great masters passing away, where they would inhale, hold their breath for a long stretch of time, and then when they would breathe their last breath, a little drop of blood would come out from the top of the head, implying the opening has happened, and all of their energy went up and out through here. Nothing leaking out from any of the other holes, which is the more common phenomenon when somebody passes away, leaves the body. There's a lot of leakage, not only of fluids, but also of the final prana that you would need to depart and like a rocket, go out beyond the field, and rather than get stuck in the field, which is a very common phenomenon. When people die, they don't get easily out of the field. They stay in the field and reincarnate.
There was a follow-up question about the mutation.
About the mutation.
I'm going to go back to that. Is there a link between DNA and consciousness in terms of mutation?
Not sure what you're looking for there. Consciousness can be linked to everything. So that's not a very helpful answer, I'm sure. I would wish to know more what you're kind of looking for really behind that question. Consciousness can link to everything. So what kind of link are you hoping to find with it? Yeah. I'm conscious of. I can be conscious of any object. And then some of you may know about the Ashtanga of Patanjali, that you can meditate on an object to such an extent that you enter fully into that object and it enters into you and you know the object from the inside out, kind of thing. So consciousness can link into anything. Therefore also, of course, you can be conscious of your own DNA as well. Yes.
Yes. So if you're conscious about your mutation, then it might be possible to mutate your DNA.
Of course.
That makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It would take immense effort and or a long, long time. It's not going to happen overnight. And you want to be clear about what you want to achieve through that mutation. Mm-hmm. Don't be rushing into. I'm not saying you will do that, but why think about how this whole concept of superheroes, and there was a series that was actually called Heroes. I think some of you might have seen it. And then even the what's the other one? The series of films about these mutants that had special powers, these kind of things. So this phenomena that comes in these movies and series and stuff, they're kind of hints along the way. You know, somebody's tapping in, getting a sense of what could be going on and where things could go, and they're downloading some of that, and then they're producing these stories for us. You know, so but there's an incredible fascination around them. These films and series are super popular, and nothing comes without consequence. Okay, our tradition is there's not a question of right or wrong. We're not here to judge anything or anybody for anything, but everything has a consequence. And you're never free of the consequence. Any action you take or don't take, any thought you have, any mood you generate in yourself, whatever it is, there will be consequence. You avoid something, there's a consequence. Because if you're not there, you're there. Yeah, whatever choice you make. So I would strongly suggest that you need to have a lot of clarity about the sequence you start to unfold by any choice you make. Oh, hey, I want to mutate my DNA. Yeah, you have no idea where that might lead, and how many lifetimes you may then have to live the consequences of such a choice. Again, in the deepest mystical tradition of that we are linked into, is to actually resist any temptation to any occult powers or magical forces that may come to you as a consequence of Kundalini rising. Patanjali warns it by the practice of yama niyama. He already indicates certain magical phenomena will happen around you, just by not even by postures or asana, just even by living a conscious, healthy life, you know, and with authenticity and relationship with others and truthfulness and so on, healthy, clean body. These are all considered like almost like prerequisites before you actually even work with Kundalini, to actually have healthy lifestyle and a good moral conduct of your life, you know, because when Kundalini arises, if there's toxicity in lower chakras, that comes with you. And then you start to have greater force within your being and the impact in the world around you. But it's going to be colored and tainted by, let's say, you can mix something of your second or third chakra with your sixth or seventh chakra, you know, so you have a certain, let's say you tend, with somebody like that, will tend to get into a position of authority or power in society, whether it's, you know, the CEO of a business or the politician or a priest in a church, any, you know, senior position, and being able to then execute that power, but for what purpose? So this is, when we say Kundalini can be dangerous, there are several levels to that. One is just very personal. If it moves in you without harnessing, without guidance, without being rightly channeled, without the supporting lifestyle, etc., it can produce such a lot of phenomena in you that can be very traumatic. And many psychologists and psychiatrists don't know what's going on, and they will just medicate you. Yeah. But even if somebody was there to support you, it still can be many years of extreme difficulty. There are accounts of that. Yeah. So So that's a personal level at which it can be dangerous. In the less personal level, although it's still personal because that's karma, any abuse of power has a consequence that comes back on you. But dangerous in that sense of you're a danger also to others because you've brought up this energy and what is it serving? Okay? This is a good moment to mention Shakti and Bhakti. You may know a little bit of these terms. So the Kundalini is often referred to as Shakti energy, which is often associated to feminine, although it's not exclusively. And it's just power, it's force, it's life force, energy. Energy is energy. There's an expression like money. Is money good or bad? Is power good or bad? It's the absolute power. Yeah. Power is corrupt. You know that expression? Absolute power is absolutely corrupt. You have to be careful around that because energy is energy, power is power, money is money, sex is sex. It's not good or bad. It's what you do with it. What do I spend the money on? Yeah. When I feel I have a lot of vitality today, what am I doing with that vitality? It's not the vitality is a problem. But the warning, the danger is there because when you're going to tap into a greater force in yourself, there's an alarm bell. For what purpose? What do you want to achieve with that? Why do you want more money? To buy more cars, to buy more computers, to buy, or what? What do you want to do with that? You know, why do you want to be more potent? You know, there are medicines to give you more fertility, more potency, more sexual charge, but then what? You know, what are you going to do with that? There's always a question comes up. For what purpose? You know? So Kundalini in itself, we say, can serve the greater objective of life. Yeah. But it may serve your ego. It may serve terrible, incredible fantasies that you may have about you, about your life, about what you're doing in this world. You know? And that's one reason why people will say, no Kundalini. Don't do Kundalini. But I find that a bit of a shame to only reject it and negate it. What do I mean by that? Yeah. Why should you not have access to power? Why should only it be some elite exclusive club that has that access? Why should it not be for all? Okay. Whether we're talking about a food bank or whether we're talking about money, you know, distribution of the vital forces of life, you know. So I've seen in the years that people who start practicing yoga and then become teachers or healers, whatever, they still tend to shy away a lot from self-empowerment, really own and claim what's happening for them. Why? Because they've witnessed or experienced abuses of power. So although they then do some practice for, you know, wake yourself up, get more vital and alive, they nonetheless have this kind of subconscious program that says, I don't want to get this wrong. I don't want to have the karma. I don't want to do what was done to me or what I've seen others do. And so then there's a denial of your own empowerment. So it's a fine line. An expression we use is, I have power to empower, not power over, but power to empower. Yeah? We have to find the balance here, not to oppress, deny, reject. Kundalini is not the end of everything. So we should not get fascinated by it. But there's no reason to deny it either, because it's an incredible potential within you that makes possible things that would not otherwise be possible in your life. Why should not that be possible for everybody? It is possible. Why should it not be shared? One of the things that our master, Kundalini Yoga master, told us, Yoga Bhajan, about his own story was he was told not to share it in public. Yeah, that he was told that he may not even live for a year after sharing. And there were attempts on his life in the first year. But his feeling was, it is time for this knowledge and this information to be out on the streets. Yeah. At the same time, he was very clear that it can be messed around, that you can get into tricky stuff, that you can use it to fly out rather than to fully embody, and so on. And so the balance, I mentioned Shakti Bhakti, so the balance of it is, if I think Shakti in the vertical, then I think Bhakti in, let's say, the horizontal from the heart. Then Bhakti implies devotion, So where is my devotion? What am I going to serve with this extra vitality that comes to me? This is the important question. Rather than refuse Kundalini, rather we should just call the question, for what purpose?
I was just very curious about the thing you talked about when people die, and said that some stay in the space and they kind of reincarnate.
Yeah.
What is the difference? How do you not reincarnate? How do you get out of that space?
Yeah, how to get beyond the field. It's a question of how much. Remember, we said earlier about being beyond the effect of the polarities.
Yeah.
And the other expression is being beyond the effect of the three gunas, so the Raja, Tama, etc. So how much I can live in the world, but not of the world. How much I can live. People will use the word detachment, but I prefer not to. I will say there's attachment. Detachment is more cold and clinical, lacking in sensitivity, but rather I will use the term non-attachment. So it's a kind of middle ground, present, conscious, sensitive, but not hooked in, identified with, or attached to. Not identified with doesn't mean when we go home this evening and I forget this computer and somebody says, who's this computer? Oh, well, I don't identify with anything. It's not mine. There's no I, there's no me. This is a nonsense as well. So being able to claim it, but at the same time, we say with open hands, so that if one day it has to go, it has to go. Or I have to go, I go. But so long as I'm here, I recognize that I can also operate in time and space. So that is quite an art, really, to be able to inhabit the world, function well in the world, consciously in the world, in service in the world, and yet not be rooted in the world. You notice a classic yogic posture they call the lotus pose, where you sit on a skin of an animal. You'll see these old pictures of yogis on a deer skin or tiger skin, and they're sitting with the soles of their feet turned up. There's several meanings. Of course, it serves the awakening of Kundalini energy as well, but the idea is I'm not rooted on the earth. I'm not of the earth. So this is like an insulation, the animal skin, and then turning the soles upwards. A lot of energy flows out through the feet, turning that upwards to bring all the energy again up into the central channel. So this is a classic posture for that. And some people would even experience, if you would sit in this posture just 31 minutes every day and just breathe long and deep, little by little over time, things will start to move in you. The two channels will come together and things will start to move into the central channel. Okay? When we say I'm not of the earth, it doesn't mean therefore that gives a license to disrespect the earth or not be sensitive to the earth, but actually quite the opposite. Because you're not so attached, rooted, identified, you actually are much more aware of your footprint on the earth, actually. It might seem paradoxical in a way, but that's actually what I experience. And so we're not against this idea of walk bare feet in the grass and enjoy the grounding that brings you. All those practices are still very embraced and included. But for the long-term question, to get through the life and to bring all the energy up so that when you go and you have enough vital energy to break through the stratosphere of the field and get free. I think for many people that's a good approach, what you're saying, the ground and connect to the earth and do that work first. But I would always allow the real ground, just to ground in yourself, and some people may be able to do that without meaning. I'm not a tree. I don't have roots. There's a reaon why I'm not a tree. And so from time to time, yeah, I have a garden and I relate and I put my hands in the earth and so on and so on. And I feel great when I put my bare feet on the grass and so on. But I wouldn't say it's a must.
There's the common narrative. When you die, you will enter a tunnel of light and you're supposed to go for the light.
Yeah.
Now she's saying that she read articles or talked with people who says that's a trap. Actually following the light, right, will make you reincarnate.
Never mind light or dark, actually. Yeah, and it may depend on the nature of the light. Most people are not following the light. The people, oh, there's my granny, she's there, she's been waiting for me, you know, she passed away 20 years ago. 9 times out of 10, or even 99 times out of 100, that's not your granny. Okay, it's an entity appearing in a familiar form to you. You understand? People will see things, and they see things according to their mindset. Thousands of years ago, people saw chariots and horses in the sky. Now they see UFOs. There's no chariots and horses and there's no UFOs, but there are things in the skies. But we see them according to the window through which we look. We are familiar with that technology, so we imagine it in that form. It appears to us according to the window we're looking through, not in the form that it actually is. So the same thing's going to happen when you leave here. You're going to perceive forms, and many of them will come. A few will be surprises, nothing you could imagine or expect, but most of it will be certain familiarities to you. Okay? And because it's familiar, you will feel safe and you will be drawn to that place. The advice basically is several, but the first thing I would just say at this moment is always be interested to go beyond. What's beyond that? And what is beyond that? And what is beyond that? Great things will appear to you. Some demons will come to try to scare you. Some apparent ancestors will come to draw you off into some side psychic cafe in the magnetic field. And great deities will appear, telling you, come, bow to my feet, I am the divine. And you just have to say, and what is after you? And what is beyond you? Always be interested in simply that. Beyond, beyond, beyond. That is the basic strategy you want to have. We can say a little more about it, but that's the bottom line. Light or dark doesn't matter.
So some souls get stuck in this dimension. Why do you think that?
Many. To the extent that you are still in any way attached, identified with, then when you leave this body, you may not even know you're dead.
What is the way that they can transcend? When they are stuck in this dimension, how can we help them transcend?
Well, different things. Some things just take time. Little by little, you start to realize people are ignoring you or whatever. It's, okay, what's going on here? There are beings that also calling you. So again, whether for whichever purpose they're calling you, but you know, you're going to perceive things that you're not normally perceiving here. So that's also going to kind of like what's going on. Yeah. So you'll figure it out. And that might happen even within a few days.
Do you think it's unhealthy for us to have communication? Do you think it's unhealthy for us to have communication with these beings?
Yes and no. Best is your personal practice in this lifetime. That's the best thing you can do. That will, you probably heard of the law of attraction, yeah? Whatever you practice in this lifetime is not only the law of attraction, because there's always equal and opposite, which means also the law of repulsion. Whatever your practice will be in this life will keep away from you certain things and will draw to you certain things. That result will take care of itself if you work things out in this life. You can't resolve your situation once you've passed this life. Only in the human existence can you work out your karma, can you work out your process. There's not much you can do beyond. If you have the training, which is why I say it, if you train yourself now, go beyond, go beyond, go beyond, go beyond, non-attachment, you do these practices, then that will serve you. It's not something you can do after you've gone. It will be you having a continuity of the benefit of the practice you've done in this lifetime. The emphasis has to be your practice in this lifetime.
Can Kundalini be raised in a safer way, not through such a traumatic experience, as you told? Is it necessary to fast? Does Kundalini rising give immediately some spiritual powers? What is the difference between Kundalini rising and Kundalini awakening?
At this moment, rising and awakening are one such difference. They're terms that could be thrown around here and there, and I wouldn't make too much emphasis. Kundalini is already awake to some degree. The rising implies getting it into the central channel and moving up, and there's not much more to say about that. But let's take that question about how it can be worked with, and I'm going to say 3 levels, okay? It can be awakened or rising intentionally, accidentally, or indirectly. And I'll clarify a little bit, okay? Intentional, meaning there are very specific, using the logs that we talked about, postures, dynamic postures, as well as static postures, pranayama, breathing with your left and right nostrils, holding the breath in, internal visualizations of the chakras, special rituals coming from different cultures, the use of ritual, tantric practices, meaning tapping into the sexual energy, but not letting it happen on that level, but tapping in and then bringing that, internalizing that, and sexual, sensual, sensitive, spiritual, moving it in, but using the polarity, mudras, not on their own, but combined with the other practices. Ritual dancing, there are specific tribes in some parts of the world where they do all-night dancing, and they combine it maybe with certain herbal potions, and this combination puts them into this ecstatic kind of trance-like state, which basically means the Kundalini starts to rise up into the higher realms, bouncing up and down, a classic yogic exercise, lift up, drop down. On its own, it won't do much. It might give you a headache or a sore buttocks. It's actually a combination. When in our tradition, we have a whole combination of exercises, kriyas, pranayamas, breathing, mantras combined together, and this may be one of a series of exercises working around the Kundalini energy. It's not just a singular posture or movement is going to do that. But there are these traditions and all night kind of doing this ritual dancing. But it's not just any kind of, just jive around. It's a very particular way of doing the dance and the ritualistic attitude that goes with it, and the chanting of the songs that they chant along. It's again the magical combination that does the work. Okay. A comment you may hear in some of the material is intentional practice is dangerous because it's too much too fast. Okay, that is a comment people will make. The truth is, it's extremely rare. I've been teaching Kundalini Yoga for more than 40 years. Extremely rare that anybody is going to come into a Kundalini Yoga class and actually have a Kundalini rising experience. Okay, we teach it in a very systematic way, very integrated way. We combine it with lifestyle, healthy living, healthy diet, healthy attitude, everything. It's a holistic approach that allows a gradual, slow, and safe unfolding. Going into extremes like extreme fasting, as I did, not knowing, it was not my intention. No, I want to raise my Kundalini. It was a result. Okay, I certainly do not recommend any extreme practice to force the raising of Kundalini. That doesn't mean intentional practices done slowly, regular attendance of classes, connected into community, having a teacher that knows what the practice is about, can give you some feedback if something's happening to you. Somebody will do in a Kriya, I'm feeling some strange tingling in my arm, or whatever. There's multiple little phenomena. And people worry, is it okay? Is it okay? Yes, actually, it's nothing and it will pass, and it's not. And people say, what should I do? What should I do? Come back to your chanting, come back to your practice, put your hands on your heart, continue breathing. Just come back to your center. Don't go, oh my God, oh my God. Yeah. Oh, I saw stars, I saw purple, I saw this, I saw that. Yeah, okay. You're going to see all kinds of things. What does it mean? What does it mean? It just means you saw stuff. There's a famous story of the master who tells his student, okay, stare at the candle. So the student stares at the candle, starts seeing things. Master, I saw this and this and this. What's next? Stare at the candle. Oh, okay. Stare at the candle. Master, I saw stars, I saw galaxies. What's next? Stare at the candle. Oh, okay. Candle. Master, I met deities and all kinds of spirits were talking to me, and I heard celestial music. What's next? Stare at the candle. And after this goes on over a long period of time, he's like, but Master, what should I see? Because he's thinking one day he's going to see the thing that the Master wants, and the Master will say, you got it. But he's not seeing the thing. So he asks the Master, what am I supposed to see? Master says, the candle. So it's a trip, to go through and clean out all the phenomena, all the indulgences, all the fascinations, to come back to just be here as you now in the time and space, but no longer with the attachments, the fascination, and so on and so on. But you have to go that whole cycle to come back to simplicity. The Buddhist monk says, before enlightenment, I arose, I took my bath, I did my meditation, I took my meal, I washed my bowl, and I worked in the garden. After enlightenment, I rose, I took my bath, I did my practice, I prepared my meal, I ate my meal, I washed my bowl, and I worked in the garden. What changed? Very interesting. You have to go through the whole trip, but to be free on the trip eventually. So, intentional. Again, something that our teacher Yogi Bhajan would say, Kundalini Yoga without mantra is not Kundalini Yoga. So he insisted on the practice of mantra. One thing that is important with the mantra is it uses your breath, it uses your voice, so it stops you from going up, 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 up. It keeps you here and present. So it starts to serve this combining of what is up coming down, and what is down going up, and what is in being expressed outward, and what is on the outside coming to meet you. Getting that meeting of all the forces into your center. So the mantra, a very essential part. And again, you'll see in different traditions, there's very common some kind of prayers, chanting, mantra kind of work. Accidental, okay? When I say direct, it can also mean that someone can do it for you, raise your Kundalini for you. There are different terms for that, Kundalini activation or Shaktipad. In our tradition, we don't advise that. We want to teach you how to do it for yourself. There are different reasons why. It tends to be very sensational again. It doesn't move you to the level of sensitivity, but to the sensational level. And then you get lost in the sensation of it. And you're very dependent on the other to do that for you, why you cannot do it for yourself. And the other thing is, if you do for yourself, you can then also develop the capacity to maintain. So as the Kundalini rises through the chakras, your consciousness expands. When sensitivity expands, your consciousness expands. You become aware of things that you were not previously aware of, right? Ultimately, meaning to the supreme level of individual consciousness, merging with universal consciousness. In religious language, say God and me and God are one. Okay? That word yoga meaning union again, so this sense of communion, union through communion. Yeah? Communicate with the divine to have the union with the divine. And you're going through that process to do that. So the awareness increases, and there's where the danger comes in. Yes, spiritual powers come along with that, and the challenge is not to rush into the temptation. Again, it comes back to go beyond, go beyond. Well, that's all very interesting, but no thank you. What's beyond that? What's after that? What's after that? Not be fascinated by these phenomena that come to you through the practice. Okay. Accidentally, spontaneous awakening may happen. My example, when I was 17, I cannot think, did I do something on that day that led that to happen? Maybe accumulation of some events, but I can't identify something. You know? So it can happen spontaneously. It can happen by being hit on the head. It can happen by falling downstairs on your buttocks, you know. It can happen through incredible sex with somebody. It can happen through some heart-opening moment with somebody. It can happen that you're reading a book or something and suddenly you get a flash of an insight. That suddenly some higher chakras is like, whoa, yeah, happen. It can happen in so many ways. Giving birth and can also bring about that movement in you. Any kind of intense, stressful scenario could potentially awaken the Kundalini. This would by accident. Yeah? Some Kundalini practices intentional are also doing that. They intentionally put you in a stress situation to produce this activation. Okay. Somebody maybe just goes to the disco and dances all night and pops a few pills. And then it may take them a few days to remember who they are and where they are. So they don't know, but Kundalini would have come up through some chakras, but there's the danger there because you can't function. You become quite dysfunctional and you don't know what's happened and you lose your sense of your identity and you need someone to help you go home, you know, and you may have to stay under the duvet a few days until you chill out and normalize again. So these things can happen, yeah. Indirectly, meaning in a way, indirect, it's not intentional, but it's not intentional. What do I mean by that? In other words, it is known that through these practices, Kundalini may rise. Okay? This is what the significance is of saying indirect. So through service, loving, heartfelt service to others, opens up a lot the heart energy, which will pull up the Kundalini to the heart center. Naturally. When you have a moment where you suddenly feel strong compassion, unconditional love for somebody, a certain situation comes to you and your heart reaches out to them. And let's say there's a crisis or something, yeah? And somebody within the room is able to keep their cool and deal with the crisis. Calm everything down, sort it out, get everything in order, yeah? What happened, yeah? Some spine went straight, remember? We talked about that. Something straightened up, Kundalini got pulled up, okay? So, service to humanity, bhakti devotion although it's a physical exercise, yeah, prostration in front of any altar deity, whether it's sitting on your lotus pose, on your knees, or standing up, stretch out your body, come back up, stand up, come back, stretch out again. Inhale when you stretch up, exhale down, combine it with a mantra, whatever your mantra is, and just keep moving. The person may not be intentionally, I'm trying to raise my Kundalini, is simply, I dedicate myself to Buddha nature. I dedicate myself to Krishna consciousness. I dedicate myself to. And by this heartfelt dedication, Kundalini will start to rise. Mm-hmm. Music can do it. You might be sitting in a classical music concert and just get so immersed in the sound of it that it starts to vibrate inside you. Yeah? So these are known phenomena. Diet helps. Sexual restraint. So not only the tantric use of sexual energy, but intentional celibacy. But again, that should be guided, because actually something I'll just put in here now. If you don't know how to get the energy into central channel and you don't let it come down through the lower channels, then it may start to rise up through left or right channels. That, in a way, produces like a bipolar phenomena. Down the left channel, very depressed and hopeless and negative energies. And then on the right side, manic and high. So you get into this bipolar kind of switching because you've not taken it into the central channel. So the idea of celibacy has to go along with proper practice. It's not something we recommend. We talk about the householder's dharma, so living the householder's life, but not sex every night or something, but nonetheless still having restraint and working slowly over time that sexual energy, creative energy can move into the heart energy, sensual, sensitive, and spiritual movement. Okay? So regulation of the sexual energy is known to serve the rising of Kundalini. I said service, but we might also say the practice of virtues. One may practice humility, one may practice equality, one may practice forgiveness. Real, not just like mentally, I think I've forgiven you, I delude myself that I've forgiven you, but absolute, deep, unconditional, whole body forgiveness. And it's a virtue. A practice of virtue will work. It calls your Kundalini energy up to serve, because you can't actually practice unconditional compassion, unconditional love, unconditional forgiveness without that level of vitality that the Kundalini gives you. Your nervous system needs that extra strength. It's like a turbo boost energy in a way. Yeah, you need another level of vitality in order to hold. If you think of what's happening in the world, if you stop for a moment and really try to listen to the news and not just hear the information, but actually place yourself in that part of the world, in that part of the world, in that part of the world, what's going on? With so much tragic things happening, and allow yourself to rebreathe that and feel that. Many people will say, I can't watch it, I can't hear it, I can't see it, it's too much. I don't know how to deal with that feeling. Yeah. So looking after your physical body through physical practices, through diet, through mantras, building in you the actual capacity to withstand the level of compassion and sensitivity that's going to come running through your nervous system. If Kundalini will rise and wake up all the chakras and open up for the cosmic awareness to come through this physical body. You need a body that can take that. I don't mean muscle. I don't mean going to the gym. Not that at all. You could be skinniest person on earth, but your subtle anatomy and your nervous system can be wired in such a way that you can allow the energy to flow through you.
So she's referring to spiritual bypassing, that some people might say, I'm not able to face the negativity of the world, while you're stating now that if you train yourself actually to have a strong nervous system, that you're actually able to meet the world the way it is.
Spiritual bypassing is a term that's been used in different ways. And if somebody says, I can't deal with it, they're just being honest. They're not intentionally bypassing. I'm not talking about somebody who, I just want to fly and be spiritual and not deal with the life. I'm talking about any average, everyday human being that's just like, it's too shocking. I can't hear it. And not that they're trying to be somewhere else. They just have to anesthetize themselves. Any average human being distributes their addictions. You know what I mean by that? Whether it's a little bit of smoking, a little bit of alcohol, a bit of TV, a bit of shopping, a bit of sex, a bit of this, a bit of that, just to generally not feel too much. Eat heavy food, have high proteins, kind of anesthetize your system in some way, so you don't overfeel. You start living lighter, in your life you're going to feel a lot. Then it does happen. Some spiritual practitioners, then there's much more of a fly out and be spiritual, but not actually be here and bring spirit in. And so the bypassing is the bypassing of your heart energy, where this is the human. I'm here for the human experience. Yeah, I wouldn't call an average person who's simply saying, I can't deal with it, I wouldn't say they're bypassing. As somebody who gets into spirituality and just wants to be out there all the time, this is a bypassing. Yeah, if you're into spiritual practice, it's to embody. And to embody means you're going to feel a lot. And you need to build in you the capacity to hold that.
When do you know if the body is ready, if your nervous system is ready?
Perhaps as an exception, but mostly we could say that you don't get more than you're ready to handle.
You don't open up more.
No, if it comes to you, it comes to you.
Yeah.
It's not a question of how do I know really. If it comes, it comes. Yeah. So, of course, it means you have to respond to that. You have to work with that. What has come to you? You're always capable for something one step more than you think you are. Yeah. And you're only going to get that capacity by being put in that situation. And you might volunteer yourself to step into a new challenge, which helps you then to mature and grow and develop. But sometimes the universe will also put it at your door. You didn't consciously ask for it, but it came to you. Now, are you going to say it's a crisis, or are you going to say it's an opportunity? That depends on you. The moment will come to you. You asked for it, you didn't ask for it. You know, even you think you asked for it. Okay, God, I'm ready. Give me everything. God is just laughing at you, because actually nothing will come to you if you're not ready, no matter how much you and your fantasy. And you might go, I'm going to do 1,000 days. Wait my Kundalini. But, if it's never just you, you think you're a co-creator, but even if you're a co-creator, it still depends on the other half. And if the other half says no way, then no way. And if somebody says, that's too scary, I don't want to go there, you might say, oh, what's their problem? They're afraid, they're resisting. But maybe the universe is also giving them that fear because they're not ready. Who says it's them? And you're never just you. You're always in an interdynamic between you and everything else, which is individually or collective or your family or your neighborhood or the garden or whatever's around you, but it's also the planet. It's also the whole solar system, and it's the creator itself. You're always in an interplay. So whatever's coming to you is coming to you. How much you initiated that, how much it was coming to you anyway, very hard to figure that out. The fact is, here it is. Then you have to work with it. When it comes to you, it comes to you. Was I ready? Was I not ready? No, not the question. Question is, how will I face it? Do I back off? Can I breathe through it? Yeah. Can I navigate, negotiate that? Or I freak out and I shut down? Yeah. But it came anyway. Even if you get a pain and then you try to avoid the pain, you hold your breath and you push the injury away, thinking you're not feeling that pain, but it's already there. Yeah. You're not really escaping the pain. You're only delaying the moment when you're going to have to live it. So whatever came to you, even if you said, not today, not today, not today, it already got under your skin. By the fact that you went and held your breath to try to block it, but actually you just took it into your system. Whatever you breathe in goes in your lungs. Whatever goes in your lungs goes in your blood. Whatever goes in your blood goes in your whole body. So it's already in you. At the very moment you think you put it aside. The moment you say, I can't deal with, means you've already been touched. So the point then is, it's just a matter of time as to when you may be able to, okay, I'm going to start to release that experience within me and allow it to be what it is. And that takes time, and everybody gets there when they get there. And even that, Remember, nothing right, nothing wrong. If somebody delays and resists, and then 5 years later they go to Tai Chi, or they go to psychotherapy, or they go to some ayahuasca ceremony, or Kundalini activation, or they come to a Kundalini class, whatever, that was going to happen anyway. The length of their resistance was meant to be. I don't put any judgment on it. I don't say they should have done this or they should have done that. So,
I see some of my patients that maybe have anxiety, and then they face some obstacle. They have two choices. They can give in to the fear and resist.
yes,
And yes, then the emotion gets into their body, and it
yes,
comes as a panic attack or a psychosis or
Yes.
sort of a
And so?
yeah.
and so,
Or they can just kind of like jump off the cliff and just embrace it and open the heart and take it all in and out.
but you're saying they could, but if somebody doesn't, they don't.
But how to explain that they go into psychosis then? Because some people have done that.
Yes,
And I'm very curious about the purpose behind that. Is that also meant to be?
okay, that's a different question. Is there a purpose behind psychosis? That's what it sounds like the question.
I guess,
is,
yeah.
It's another form of escape. If you
Yeah.
can't numb out, then you have to space out. And you disown something in yourself, and basically you hand it over to other forces.
Mm.
And there's a whole lot of other forces quite ready to take the space if you don't take the space. It's an escape. And it's not, again, not right or wrong. That's all they could do. If they could have done different, they would have done different. It's a very tough thing to come to terms with. To put no judgment on anybody. Whatever it is, a murderer, somebody who's firing a rocket right now into some family home, or whatever it may be, if they could have done different, they would have. Somebody walked away. Somebody says, I'm out of here. Runs across the border, finds some way to say, I'm not firing this stuff. Somebody else, give me a gun, give me a gun. Somebody else says, I don't want to do this, but they do it anyway. If they could do different, they would do different. By a whole collection of circumstances, not by one single factor, within them or around them. If they could do different, they would. You may wish, you know, you have habits that you may one day change. Am I correct to say that? Yeah, we all have some little habits. I need to work on that one. Why not? It's over today. Why not end that habit right now? You might say, I don't know. You might say, I would if I could. You might say, whatever you might say. The fact is, if this was a moment and you could do it, you would do it. If you say you can't, I might say, you can, but I respect that maybe you can't now. But don't say you can't, implying you may never. You are in your negotiation on the way, as I am in mine, as this person with the psychosis. Somebody else who says, I can't deal with it. I know I tried to face it, but the doctor offered me this prescription and I just had to take it. You know, somebody even just the other day, I'm sorry, Shiv Charan, I had to take the pills. I couldn't deal with it. They don't have to say sorry to me. I have no judgment. I'm not for it. If that's the best they could do right now, that's the best they could do. Now, whether they'll be on it for 1 month, 6 months, or 6 years, time will tell. And that's the best they could do. You're in a position as a therapist, a teacher, or a healer to be part of somebody's negotiation. But you can't force anything. You can facilitate, you can hold the space, you can have a conversation, you can help them to be more conscious of the choices that stand before them. But at the end of the day, we tend to have, and I'm not personal to you at all, not at all. We tend to over-exaggerate our delusion of how much we can help people. Yeah? It doesn't mean, oh, well, what can I do? I might as well stay home. No, I hold the space for whatever's meant to happen for you today is going to happen. But I'm not here in any illusion that I may be of any help to anyone. But it's whatever's meant to go process for each of you are working out, whatever you're working out, sitting here with this conversation. I have no idea about that, and that's each your own personal process. And I'm just sitting here giving you a space to do that. I have no other control on any of it. This area, you have to learn to be very mechanically in command of it. It needs to open up and close by your own volition, by your own efforts. And it's very, very important. Your breath is considered like a thread. Then the Navi point is like the other end, one end of the thread. And your mind and all its stuff flying away is like a kite. Yeah, it wants to fly off. And we say that when you have the command of the breath through the Navi, then you can have command of the mind. Sometimes people try to know my mind, and they're trying to get away from their mind, do something about their mind, but they're not working on their Navi. Actually, this is the best way, is you resolve the mind through the work that you do with your body. Yeah. So you may do a lot of good meditation practices. I don't doubt that you work on good human virtues with the people, but you have to work on the foundation.
And how do you do that? Like,
so, well, first I'm saying much more awareness. I don't just mean energetically, like just visualizing the third chakra or something, but mechanically. You have to use the physical action of the body and just learning to tighten and release and tighten and release as a mechanics, first of all, and then synchronizing that with the breath, inhaling when you're open, exhaling as you contract, so that what's trying to happen then on the physiological level of that journey can work more smoothly. So when you have that experience, in addition to what you do, you can also learn to squeeze and contract the anus and sexual area and navi together, contract, and relax, contract and relax. So kind of like massaging it to move up. So first of all, you're using an external pressure with the heel, but you can learn to work internally by this efforts, contract, relax, all these areas. Yeah, but the first thing I can see from here that it's not strong here. You have to become much more anchored until now.
Can you have the full effect of Kundalini even though you don't have a strong core and not an agile body?
Yeah. Oh yeah, it doesn't need necessarily agile body. The nervous system has to be strong. Your body may be stiff for different reasons. You might have arthritis, you might have muscular tension. Kundalini can happen to anybody, anytime. Remember, accidental, spontaneous awakening can happen. So it's not dependent on. But what we are saying is keep your body in good shape and good health to the any extent you can to support whether that should happen accidentally or as a long-term consequence of good health. Yeah, it's simply advisable to maintain clean diet, healthy body, good living, exercise, and rest, regulation of your sexual energy. Don't deny it, don't indulge it, keep it balanced. Everything from the animal, from the animal body, keep it in good form and in good health and good shape. And all that supports as and when Kundalini is ready and wants to move up through the chakras, you're completely ready to take that on board, the next kind of evolution of your journey. Yeah. Something we've not gone into more depth yet about what I said, top down, bottom up, and inside out within topics. I want to cover that a little bit. General idea, we say, hands on the heart. The idea is place yourself in the middle of all of that. Of what is moving inside of you, what is moving into you, what is moving on the outside to you, what is moving upwards. Place you, imagine yourself always in the center of all of that. Yeah. So when we say calm down, to me it would mean come into your center.
Okay.
You know, it's not about shutting down, but coming into your center. So we talk about Shakti rising to meet the Shiva, but it's not just opening up, it's opening in order for things to flow in. The things may flow in to you anyway, as well. Forces do come in to you. So this meeting can happen at any chakra. So you could have the downward energy coming in and meeting rising energy in your first chakra, or in your second, or your third. So there's extraordinary phenomena will happen depending on where these energies meet, what is going up and what is coming down. Yeah? We don't have time, but you can reflect on that if you know a little bit about each chakra. What is the power of it? Not just the everyday second chakra is for having sex or going to the bathroom or whatever. Nadi is for action in the world and so on. But no, there's also the esoteric kind of extraordinary phenomena that comes with each chakra. And if the rising, the descending force comes and to you at that point, then it awakens also the extraordinary phenomena. Because it's not just your Kundalini rising, it's a meeting. There's two different things going on here, right? The rising is one thing, the clearing, and then an entering in of that higher energy coming through. But when there's meetings, this is when the chemistry starts, this is when extraordinary things happen. And in whichever chakra that meeting is happening at, different phenomena will happen to you, okay? Okay. So when people are using, let's say, psychotic episodes or children hearing voices, yeah, and having visions, okay, people, it happens. Somebody in no practice, but they just have this kind of clairvoyant or whatever psychic thing, or yeah, that is top down. That's the rising, the energy that is above, the descending into that person, meeting them, and then audio will be through the fifth chakra, clairvoyance, third chakra, something is coming in and meeting you there. Heart chakra, like an empath energy, too much sensitivity to what's going on in the world. The rising energies come in, and it's not supported by the descending energies come in, not supported by the rising energy, but is hitting you in the heart chakra, and puts you on this hyper sensitive kind of space. So it's too big a scheme to go into all the different, but you get the general idea of what's happening. Taking something like plant medicine, basically you're opening yourself up for a top-down phenomena. Yeah, any kind of psychedelics or other substances that are going to hit in the higher chakras and the associated glands there. And so you're opening up for top-down energy. So the spirit of that plant or that mushroom or whatever you're ingesting, that is a top-down kind of force, yeah? Which, as a brief encounter, can be, many people will say they benefited from that because it's like a big eye-opening kind of wow moment. The difficulty is to integrate that and have it have implications for you in the world, what you bring to the world. And in most cases, you can't do anything. You can say, wow, 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 and you can go on television, you should try it, it's amazing, it'll change your life. My life has changed, but actually what I'm seeing is you're in your, fascination about your trip, but actually I don't see you doing anything to the world around you. And so you join your little tribe of users, and you have your weekend parties and rituals and you do what you do, but it's your own little fascinating world, and it's far out for sure, but you're not actually bringing anything into the world around you. Yeah, this is what we can see. Okay, so it's interesting that there's studies have been done where the phenomena that comes by taking psychedelic drugs studied, researched, and all recorded, data recorded, etc. And the phenomena of Kundalini are quite matching. Okay. Now that raises a question. Is the substance that you take raising your Kundalini, or is it simply producing the same phenomena? Okay. I will suggest that it's simply producing the same phenomena. It is not raising Kundalini. Okay? Because it's an outside-in effect is happening. So it will induce all that phenomena, but you cannot sustain anything with that. You cannot maintain. If Kundalini rises, we say actually it's not difficult to raise Kundalini. What's more challenging is because you maintain it. You get a kind of opening into, wow, ooh. The general tendency is naturally it's kind of also will not completely shut down, but it will reduce its vastness, knowing that you can only function with a certain level at this moment, but you've had a glimpse. My experience that I described at 24 is like the universe showed me like that's the big picture and this is what's possible. But then it said, but now you have to go ABC to be able to withstand that. You have to live constantly in that space and in that consciousness. You have to develop your capacity. So I think whether it's the drugs or whether it's medicine, whether it's an accident, whether it's just a good sex moment, anything might give you like the cosmos, but it will naturally leave you because only the work you do from the inside up and bottom up is actually going to build in you the capacity to sustain that. So mostly it calms down by itself. But there are support systems, things you can do to help to moderate as well. And you'll find information online. There's a few pages about Kundalini, about people who've been through it, and they document and they give you suggestions of things you can do. But the company you keep has a very big factor in that. Also, I didn't mention that on the list of accidental raising of Kundalini can happen by being in the presence of certain people. It can also stimulate, because basically we're talking about a magnetic field in connection to another magnetic field. And so this person's magnetic field may be flowing in such a way that when your magnetic field comes into their company, it starts to shift your magnetic field. We are both influenced and we influence. One of the things we explore through the teacher training program is the student comes in very influenced by your environment, social, emotional, psychic, whatever. You learn your practice and you learn to be able to keep a little distance, the noise is going on, the social pressures are there, but you're able to, I'm not going to react, I'm not going to buy into that. So you learn to be less influenced. But you're not yet influencing. You're just managing to hold your ground. And even that can take quite a long time to learn to do that. You go on a retreat, 5 days. Oh, I feel so good. I'm going to, the rest of my life will be so different. Within 24 hours of being back home, you find yourself still all the same patterns, all the same programs are still got a hold of you because you're in the field, the family field, the work field, whatever field. And so it's on you, basically. So to build up in you the capacity not only to not be influenced, but to influence and to sustain that influence. You can be, I'm feeling good today, you inspire people, and the next day, oh, leave me alone, don't come near me, I'm having a bad day. We go up and down, right? So that's a common, part of the journey. But the long road is to develop the capacity that you maintain that state, impact into your environment, just by being who you are. Not that you're out to lay in a trip, but just your presence has impact. And you develop the capacity to maintain that wherever you are. And it's a long road, a lot of work. So that's from the inside up. And then whatever has to come to meet you, comes to meet you. You're not seeking, hoping, searching, grabbing, waiting, expecting, and fantasizing about anything. You do your work. One mantra, some of you may know it. Ek Onkar Sat Guru Prasad. Who said that mantra? Two of you. It's telling you, Ek Onkar Sat. It's telling, yeah, first chakra, Ek, number one, Ong, the lung of the second chakra, Kar, action, creation, third chakra, Sat, truth, authenticity, the human. You do that part, Guru Prasad, the blessing comes to you. There's too much chasing up into the higher domains going on. Yeah, just do your work, which is why we said human service. Open-heartedness in the world will already do a lot of work. It will draw up your vital energy, and it will open the receptivity. A little practice, just to finish. Short, very simple. You're going to take your hands on the Venus hut, we call it. In this case, although there are reasons why we might vary, but I'll say everybody put the right fingers and thumb over the left. So your little finger of the left hand is on the bottom, your right thumb is on the top. Okay. And you're going to take this mudra and you're going to place it on the upper chest or upper part of your sternum bone. The palms are apart, so you're not pressing the palms together, they're apart. But the fingers are very tight. And you push your chest up into, remember we talked about calling the up into the heart space. Shoulders should be relaxed. There's a little bit of a fine tuning needed, neck in and back. And you're going to just breathe long and deep, but you're making a little bit of a fight between the hands pressing down on the chest and the chest pressing up into the hands. Don't let the shoulders rise. Yeah. Don't let your head, chin go forward like that. Keep straight. Start breathing long and deep. Close the eyes. Okay. Breath can become quite powerful and strong. It doesn't, not short or fast, but intense, because there is this point of tension happening at the rib cage and heart area. You're pushing your body weight into the mudra, you're pushing the mudra back onto the body. It's in the upper half of your sternum bone, so don't be too low. Don't let the hands drop down, stay at the upper. Your palms are towards your body. Turn your palms a little bit towards the body, yes. Generate this tension and allow yourself to have that sense that you're trying to draw up everything from below, and you're inviting from above grace, any quality of beauty, kindness, compassion, come down from above, peace. It might seem strange to ask for peace through this exercise, but there is sense to it. Because real peace also takes a lot to have that deep capacity to tolerate, endure with full intensity of consciousness and body. Strong breath. Whatever's happening, use the breath. Keep moving into it, moving with it and through it. Feel your spine as you do that, strong and straight. If there's any shaking in any part of the body, just allow it. Don't try to resist it or get busy with it. It's just a few minutes. Press a little harder and breathe more strong. Full breath as you can, but strong, passionate. Breathing through the nose, you put your tongue to the upper palate. The eyes, if they do come into focus, at the root of the nose, where the two lines of the nostril, left and right nostrils, come up to meet. It's often in the description given, the three rivers or three channels come into one channel. But even as you might be aware of that focus with your eyes, don't lose the awareness of your heart space and the work you're doing in the heart, shoulders back, face up. Feel the breath moving in the spine, in whichever way it goes, inhaling, exhaling, up and down the spine. Feel your shoulder blades coming a little bit together, the back. That's the knot of the Vishnu, the second knot that has to be undone, clear the flow of the energy. You're working with equal and opposite forces. You're putting a pressure and contraction to create an expansion and an opening and a release. Now inhale deeply and hold the breath in. And for those who know, the root lock is the contraction of the lower muscles, as if you need to go to the toilet, but you're squeezing tight to hold. Keep your head and face relaxed. And bring yourself into the heart. Relax into the heart while holding. And now, keep the position. Exhale completely. Breathe all the breath out, all the breath out, all the breath out. Hold the breath out. Keep the spine up straight. Hold the breath out. Creating a vacuum, internal vacuum. And breathe in. And breathe out. Just relax your hands onto your knees in the classic mudra, which you may know, Gyan Mudra. Just feel, allow now a minute or two to let everything flow. All your nadis, the prana flowing like a river through your whole 72,000 nadis. And especially feel your spine open and fluid. Okay, you can do that every day, just a little bit at home, 3 minutes, 5 minutes maximum. And what you can do is you combine it, if you have any holy word, mantra from whichever tradition you may have, because that's setting also some intention. You're inviting the awakening, you're inviting the grace, and you're saying to serve whatever your mantra represents. Your mantra is Satanam, to serve the truth in all. Your mantra is Hallelujah, and to serve that celebration of the divine light in all, whatever is your holy word. So that helps to open up. The cosmos says, okay, with that intention, I meet you. Yeah? rather than just, oh, I want to experience Kundalini. That could actually produce the opposite effect, where something in you is just going to go, forget it, it's not going to happen. So the mantra is a very useful and important and recommended addition while you do this practice. It becomes a bhakti, not just a shakti. The shakti is the technology, and then your mantra is your attitude, the bhakti.